If you're looking for a quality chef and caterer for your next revival, conference, seminar, or wedding, then you need to get in touch with Minister Eugene Wims. He is a quality chef and caterer that walks in the Lord. Call him at 754-422-4780. And don't forget, you can join Minister Eugene Wims every Monday and Tuesday morning from 5 until 6 a.m. with his radio ministry Walking by Faith right here on Wexy 1520, your inspiration station.
Good morning, South Florida. This is past our story time, because if it's Monday, then it's past our story time. I'm your host, Tyrone A. Ash, a local product with worldly experiences, education, and knowledge on how we can save our children. I am available at 954-854-9216. That number again is 954-854-9216. My email address is hyty2u@gmail.com. That email address again is hyty2u@gmail.com. I'll bring you all of that contact information back throughout the show. Folks, for the next 1 hour, 60 minutes, you get the opportunity to journey into the power of our story. Remember, our story is the story of humanity. Why do you say that, Mr. Ash? Well, let's look at our story. Our story goes from first human on Earth. That's a fact that's been proven by science and archaeology, to the creation of civilization. That includes medicine, science, tools, farming, math, all of the ingredients to make a society a civilization. And from there, it went into building pyramids, one of the 7 wonders of the world, all the way to building the world's largest library. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the oldest college in the world is also found on the continent of Africa. And we go from that part of the story to kings and queens. Those are the people that ruled the world during the early times of the world. And they were all over, and they were powerful. Then we go in our story to the enslavement. I call it the Dark Ages. The ages where the world found out all of the riches and the knowledge that was held right there on that same continent of Africa. And yes, when they saw Mansa Musa come through Europe, handing gold out to individuals, they knew something had to be where this gentleman came from. Mansa Musa was one of those kings and queens of the continent of Africa. Then after we go through enslavement, we see about our story goes into the fight to regain our freedom, our equality, our dignity. The reason we're one of the most powerful people on earth. So we went through that part. We did fight, did receive our freedom, but then we still had to go through struggles and conflicts with segregation, Jim Crow, all of the kind of laws that were made to do only one thing, and that was to hold back the power of people of color. Now, after going through all of that, and we still go through a lot of those challenges today, as we have seen, but we stayed with our story, and our story goes to the most powerful man that was elected on earth in the 21st millennium. This, ladies and gentlemen, would be the President of the United States, Mr. Barack Obama. And yes, he was a man of African descent. So you see, ladies and gentlemen, our story Past Our Story is the story of humanity. We're glad that you're here, and we know that you could have been anywhere else, but we're glad that you're here listening to Past Our Story. And as we go on, we always want you to know that the purpose of our program, the reason we do this program, is we want you and the rest of our audience and everyone to be able to increase your knowledge of self-history and ancestry. Why do you say that, Mr. Ash? Well, because it has been proven by scholars and universities that increasing your knowledge of self-history and ancestry is necessary for the quality character development. Okay, again, this fact has been proven by scholars and conclusions of university studies on successful people. Let me give you an example. A study was done with 100 successful businessmen and women, and the study's purpose was to see what were the characters in common with these 100 successful people. Well, the conclusion of the study was the most common trait between these 100 successful men and women were they possessed knowledge of themselves, which is self-history, and they knew where they came from, ancestry. So yes, ladies and gentlemen, we deserve to give ourselves this same opportunity for a more quality life. For this reason, we have the radio program, Past Our Story. So we ask you today, take a chance. Take this chance for you, your children, and for our neighborhood by taking the time to increase your knowledge of self-history and ancestry. We owe that to our children. We want to thank you again for tuning in, for you could be anywhere. Past Our Story was brought to you by Pastor Eugene Williams as our sponsor, WEXY staff, which does a great job at bringing you this story, and Past Story of Diaspora Forward, which is a 501c3 organization designed to make sure America and the world know our story is power. Also part of the producers and sponsors of this program is the StoryGrandpaTold.com. This is the reference book that this program is built upon. Well, we'll do more about the story as we go through our program this morning, but we want to take the time to let everyone know that Past Our Story, or our story, is not only about the past, it's also about our present. And if we can understand it as for our present, then we'll know where we're going, and that's our future. So to give you an idea of all of this, ladies and gentlemen, we want you to listen to this quote by Beck Shy. There is something that draws people to the past, a delicate thread of spirit and soul that binds us with our past. This is the essence of our ancestors that does not die when they do. It is a persistent part of their life's force that waits quietly for someone to listen. That's the power of our story, ladies and gentlemen, and that's the power of any story, to lead us, to guide us. One other quote that I'd like to say at this point is by the National Genealogy Society quarterly. And parents, grandparents, uncles, and aunts, listen up. Here's what this quote says. the things a parent must give a child. One is roots, the other is wings. So yes, ladies and gentlemen, our story has the power to give your children wings so they too can move on to the gloriousness that is within them. So we begin our story today, ladies and gentlemen, trying to reinforce that same statement that our story is not only about the past, but it's also about the present. And yes, the present is something that is totally unusual and new. What you mean by that? Well, let's look at what's going on in the world today. We know that there's protesters in the streets. We know that there are people demanding in the streets for better treatment. We know that. You can see that not only here in the cities across America, but we can see that all over the world. And now I want you to see how that correlates with our story from the past. To give you an example, 1968 was not that long ago, but it was the 1968 Olympics. And in 1968, there was a lot going on. There was a protest in Memphis, Tennessee by sanitation workers, African, black sanitation workers. Their motto for their strike was, "I am a man." The whole purpose of their strike was for better working conditions. And they were not having it the way they were working. So they decided that they were going to have a protest. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to understand, during that time, just like now, what other options were there for when injustice was being done? And that was one of the things that we found out, that you had to protest. When I say we, people of color, had to protest. Why protest? Well, when we spoke, they didn't want to listen. They, being society, those that are in power, didn't want to listen. So we had to protest. And we're still protesting. And does it change it? Well, the jury is out on that. We're still working on changes, but we're still working, which is the most important thing that we want to talk about. Now, during this 1968 Olympics, these two young men, Tommie Smith, John Carlos, they stood on the podium getting their gold and bronze medals from the Olympics. And when the national anthem played for the United States, Tommie raised his right hand with a black glove, and John Carlos raised his left hand with a black glove, all in the form of a fist. And that was known as the Black Power sign. Well, here it is on the world stage. Everyone looks at the Olympics just about, even today. Well, I don't know about today because of the virus, but up to the last Olympics. But at this Olympics in 1968 in Mexico, Tommie Smith and John Carlos gave the black fist, Black Power sign. It outraged everyone in America, and the world began to realize just how much people of color in America, was being troubled by all of these unequitable actions that was being brought against the man of color. Now, to show you another example of what has gone on today, and as we talk about the young people, that's part of the protest, not only here in America's cities, but all over the world. And I want you to understand, it is not something new. It has been going on for a long time now. To give you another example, in 1968, students walked out protesting apartheid in South Africa. The man who founded that particular movement, or called the Black Conscious Movement in South Africa, his name was Stephen Biko, B-I-K-O, Stephen Biko. And he was active against the South African apartheid government. And they said he led this protest of students that walked out of school. And why did they walk out of school? Well, they were being told, those students, was being told by the power of the government that they had to learn Afrikaans. That's a language that was created by the white rulers of South Africa. The black students said, African students said, they did not want to forsake using their native language. The law says they had to learn Afrikaans. Well, these students walked out, and they walked out for the basis of what they thought was their right thing to do. And that was, ladies and gentlemen, 1968. So as we go on, we see that young people have been involved in the struggles for a very, very long time, ever since there's been a need for a struggle. So we say to young people, continue to be aware, continue to stand for your rights. Now, what some people have called, and you might have heard me say this before, some people may have said that today, 2020, with all of the protests in the streets, that the young people or the millennium generation has their say it loud, I'm black and I'm proud moment. What you mean by that, Mr. Ash? Well, James Brown wrote this conscious and pride song. The song was, Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud. This song became a personal theme for Africans in America, particularly in the youth. Black pride was dramatically increased due to this song. So young people was going through the neighborhood with their fists raised, singing their song, Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud. That was a very strong moment, and that was in 1968. So young people, you stay at it. Parents, encourage them to be safe, but encourage them to be involved. It's very important that we have our young people involved. As we see on our news reports, it's a lot of young people. And another most important thing to notice in these protests is we see a very diverse crowd this time. Black people, white people, Oriental people, all kinds of people are a part of the struggle this time. So what we have now looks to be a fight for humanity. Yes, black people, we have been joined by other nationalities and other cultures and race, because now the world of humanity knows that there's a time for change. And you can see how the time has changed, ladies and gentlemen, as you can take the time and notice of all of the black mayors, black police chiefs. I'm talking about black medical examiners, black medical experts. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, people of color have come a very, very, very long way with making achievements and contributions. But we got a very, very still long way to go based on how Americans are being treated. To give you an idea again, young people, how important you are into struggles, we want to tell you about right here locally, right here in South Florida. There was talk on campus by non-African students. This is right out of the book, out of the story Grandpa told of American and world African legends and culture. As the story goes, there was talk on campus by non-African students. They said the new principal was going to put you blacks in your place. Africans considered sending their message to the new principal, who was beginning his first term, his new day of his first term. The African students arrived at the campus by bus. When the morning bell rang to report to class on the first day of the new principal, 90% of the African students walked out of the school. Several hundred African students walked in an orderly manner 3 miles back to their neighborhoods. They walked through the predominantly rich neighborhood of Hollywood Hills, Emerald Hills. The police was called to escort and protect the safety of the students during their walkout. It was their time to stand. This protest was a protest for fair and equal treatment of African students on the campus of the school. The protest was a public notice to parents, teachers, and administrators. The differences in treatment between African and non-African students on campus were widespread, obvious, and blatant. Classmates and administrators at the school claimed your host, Tyrone, led the protest. But I tell you, that what you call was group leadership. And that took place like going on today. They said, about who's leading all these protests? And no one can come up with any one person. That's called group leadership, ladies and gentlemen. And that's what's happening today is group leadership. So now that was how you saw these young people again. They standing up for rights. And unfortunately, we have the bombing of the 16th Street Baptist Church. Remember that, ladies and gentlemen, in Alabama. They were not protesting. They were not trying to change any system. They were just going to Sunday school. But the rage and racism got so caught up in America, especially there in Alabama, where 4 young girls at church preparing for Sunday school was killed by a bomb. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, they were killed by a bomb. 4 innocent little girls. Mind you now, when this bombing occurred, it just occurred a few weeks after the 1963 March on Washington. Remember, that's the march where Martin Luther King gave his infamous speech, I have a dream. So I guess retaliation for his dream was they were going to take out the lives of some black people. Well, they took the lives of 4 young girls who had not fought, had not done anything to any of them. But that's how the struggle goes, ladies and gentlemen. It goes to the point of whether you're in it or not, you're involved with it. And that's what we have to deal and continue to teach our children, is that it is time for all of this to cease. And that's one of the things that these protests are going on in the streets today. So when we come back, we're going to talk about some of the other instances of young people making the point of saying humanity has to be for all people. So we'll be right back. We're going to just take a brief break, and we'll be right back with you.
Looking for a quality chef and caterer for your next revival, conference, seminar, or wedding? Then you need to get in touch with Minister Eugene Wims. He is a quality chef and caterer that walks in the Lord. Call him at 754-422-4780. And don't forget, you can join Minister Eugene Wims every Monday and Tuesday morning from 5 until 6 a.m. with his radio ministry Walking by Faith right here on WEXY 1520, your inspiration station.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm back with you again, and again, we're glad that you're here with Past Our Story. As we continue to talk about today and young people, being involved in all of the protests for rights, freedom, and humanity. And this still goes on, still going on today. A lot of this, they said, was because of George Floyd. Well, ladies and gentlemen, want you to know that George Floyd was just another one of the mistreatments that have been going on for a long time, not just in America, but around the world. Now, because of videos on phones, all of the talk that was being done by people of African descent of abuse and misuse and violence against them by the police department, those same individuals who have the power, who was given the authority to protect and serve, was continuing to involve violence against people of African descent. But that's why young people have the spirit. They got the knowledge, and I heard this one statement during one of the protests, which said the young people of 2020 are not like their parents or their grandparents. Say they're ready to fight. So there's a different kind of attitude that's in the world today with our young people. We're changing this society. Change it, we will. It may take time, but changing it, we will. Again, we talked about the number of black mayors. That was a part of the changes of black people getting out to vote. We talk about the number of police captains that are black throughout America. And I've been noticing quite a few of them on the news. That's because of fighting through all of these years. So young people, we want you to know that your parents, your grandparents, great-grandparents, they too have been involved in the struggle. They may not look like it today because they have age on them, but when they were younger, they were there. They was on the front lines trying to make sure they was making a better world for you. So when you got here, like you are today, that it would be better. Well, that was their goal. As you can see, that the fight still goes on. But we continue to do what we need to do, and I'm asking you young people to stay involved. To not only show your physicalness to be involved, but it's also time for you to show your intelligence and your knowledge. So for this reason, ladies and gentlemen, we ask you to help educate our children so they can know our story. Not only about slavery, because our story is much bigger than the slavery. Remember our introduction. We go back from the first human on earth, the story of humanity. But if our children don't know that, they can't get the power from that story. So this information being brought to you today, ladies and gentlemen, by the story Grandpa told of American and world African legends and culture. This is a story that talks about the story of humanity from thousands of years ago all the way up to the election of Barack Obama, as we said in our introduction. So if you want to order the book, ladies and gentlemen, you can call 954-854-9216 and order your book. Or you could go online to www.thestorygrandpatold.com. Okay, those contact numbers for ordering the book again. Telephone number 954-854-9216. The email where you can order the book, the website that is www.thestorygrandpatold.com. Every book you purchase, part of the proceeds goes to support Pass Our Story of the Diaspora Forward. That's Pass Story of Diaspora Forward. Those funds goes to creating programs to support the knowledge and experiences for our young people. So when you buy a book, not only are you going to get a book full of knowledge and resources and references, but you also support the building of young people in our community. In other words, ladies and gentlemen, when you purchase a book, it is an investment in mind and community. So remember, call 954-854-9216 or go to the website www.thestorygrandpatold.com and order your story, The Story Grandpa Told of American and World African Legends and Culture. Now, the book is $29.95. 1/3 of that proceeds goes to Pass the Story of the Diaspora Forward, so we can continue programs such as these. So as we move on, ladies and gentlemen, we keep talking about instances of young people being involved in the struggle. Do y'all remember the sit-in that took place at the Five and Dime store in North Carolina? You remember that? Oh, there was 4 college students that sat at the lunch counter at the Five and Dime. Created a great amount of conflict. But it was one of those protests that was led by young people for rights and freedom. Okay, then, right here in the state of Florida, you had the Jacksonville NAACP youth chapter, where they did their protest. And they said their motto was, their protest was more than having a Coke and a hamburger at the counter. I mean, they just didn't want to sit at the counter for a soda or a hamburger. They wanted just to have the rights of anyone else. And that was the Jacksonville Youth Council. So young people, be strong, be wise. Avoid getting into that kind of trouble that will cause not only today's problem, but problems for your future later on. We're on your side, and we've been doing this a long time. So please, be careful, be safe. On the word of careful, I'm just going to digress 1 minute because we need to talk about this virus one more time. As the virus continues to spike in South Florida, personally, just want to remind you all that statistics are still saying more than 30%, maybe as much as 40% of the death that's occurring from this virus is happening to people of color. Now, some may say, well, they're trying to keep this excuse me, they're trying to keep the virus going so it can kill more people of color. Well, I can't say that one way or another. But what I can say to people of color is don't be fooled. If there's a virus out there, and I say if, because a lot of people want to say it don't exist, all I know is 30 to 40% of the over 100,000 Americans that have died from this virus are people of color. So what are we doing going outside without a mask? What are we doing not doing social distancing? It has been determined that our health and how do I want to say it, and our habits of eating and taking care of ourselves is a major contributor in this battle that we're losing with our people with this virus. All we can say to you in this program, ladies and gentlemen, and as I see you on the street, be safe. Take care of yourself. The virus may not bother you, but it may bother me. It may bother your parents, your grandparents. It may even bother your children. So if we care about ourselves and we care about all of the rights and freedom and fights for freedom and everything else, well, let's take care of our individual lives. Let's do the precautions that science and the medical community is saying that we ought to do to take care of ourselves. Social distancing, wearing a mask in public. I don't wear my mask all day, only when I'm out in public. I'll be quick to take the mask off once I'm not, because I too want to make sure my immunization stays strong. There's talk of the mask inhibiting your immune system. I could see why, because it builds up carbon dioxide with the mask on. But use it for that one time. The body is pretty resilient. We need to give it credit. We need not to let our mind talking about I can do what I want to do tells us that our body can overcome a virus. It isn't talk, ladies and gentlemen. It's science. It's medicine. So please, pay attention and make sure you do what you need to do to keep yourself safe. We're running into the middle of the summer, and now we aren't sure just how school is going to be set up for our young people come the fall, which is not far from now. In the meantime, let me ask the parents, grandparents, uncles and aunts, cousins and all, what are you having your children read for the summer? Did you come up with anything? Well, remember, you can always order the story Grandpa told of American World African Legends and Culture. It's a story that talks about you, your family, and me, and my family. And it goes again from the first human on Earth all the way up to the election of Barack Obama. There are 493 pages in the story. Good reading exercise for your children. Good reading exercise for you. Get yourself a copy. Excuse me, and you and your students and your children. Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen. Get yourself a copy of the story Grandpa told of American and World African Legends and Culture. It's a good reading project for the rest of the summer. They will love it, and you share the story with them, and both of you will love it. That contact to order your book again is 954-854-9216. Now, before our program ends, we're going to take a quick break, but I will be glad to let everyone know that there's going to be a special offer for you right after this break. So stay tuned and listen for the special offer.
If you're looking for a quality chef and caterer for your next revival, conference, seminar, or wedding, then you need to get in touch with Minister Eugene Wims. He is a quality chef and caterer that walks in the Lord. Call him at 754-422-4780. And don't forget, you can join Minister Eugene Wims every Monday and Tuesday morning from 5 until 6 a.m. with his radio ministry Walking by Faith right here on WEXY 1520, your inspiration station.
Glad to have you back with us for our last segment of the program, Pass Our Story. Now, what you said you got this special offer for you? Yes, for the next 5 listeners that call into WEXY 1520 AM this morning before the show is over, 5 people will be given a free copy of the story Grandpa told of American and world African legends and culture. Get your pen and pencil. The number you need to call is 954-561-1553. 954-561-1553. If that number is busy, 954-561-1554. 954-561-1554. So before the program ends, the first 5 people will be given a free copy of the story Grandpa told of American and world African legends and culture. So I hope you'll be able to get in as we move on with our story. The story is basically about our young people, because I am so proud to see our young people have their moment. I had my moment. Generation before me had their moment. Generation before them had their moment. Hello.
Hello, hi.
Hi. We're glad to have you on the air with me.
Thank you.
I'm speaking to
Natalie Brewster.
Oh, Natalie M. Brewster. Pleasure talking with you. Natalie, you're one of the first callers, so I will be mailing a copy of our story out to you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening. Mm-hmm. So tell me, what do you think about the program?
It's very interesting. I'm on break now. I'm an instructor. I teach in Broward County School System, and I do have the opportunity in the mornings to listen, so I've been kind of getting up at like 5 on Mondays especially, and I make sure and listen in and tune in whenever I'm able to.
Oh, fantastic. I'm glad to have you with me. Yes. I need to get your address and phone number to mail you your book.
Okay.
I don't want you to do that over the air right now.
Okay.
Yes. So, Natalie, if you just hold on a minute, and I'll see if our producer can get your address and your phone number so we can make sure you get your copy of the book.
Thank you so much.
And thank you for listening. Please tell your friends and enjoy your reading for the rest of the summer.
Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, hello.
Good morning.
Good morning. Who am I speaking to?
I can't hear you.
I'm sorry, who am I speaking to?
Are you speaking with Mildred?
Mildred, how you doing, Mildred?
I'm wonderful. Thank you for asking. And how are you?
Thank you. I'm good, and thank you for listening to our program.
You're welcome.
What do you think about the program so far?
It's great. Very informative.
Well, that's our purpose, and what we want to do is to make sure that we can continue to pass our story so we can all know the power in our story.
Right.
Mildred, what do you do?
I'm retired. I'm kind of like
Great.
on 95, not trying to get on 95 right this second.
All right, all right. Well, you're an active retiree. That's good to hear. That's very good
Thank
to
you.
hear. So when you receive your book, stay on the line. I'll see if our engineer can get your full name, address, and telephone number, and I'll be glad to mail the book out to you.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, and please continue to listen and pass the word about our story. Thank you very much.
Oh, okay, sir. You have a blessed day and stay safe.
Why, thank you, thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, that we have listeners and we have people paying attention and understanding that our story has importance, and it's necessary for us to be able to know our
Okay.
story. Thank you, Mildred.
You're quite welcome.
All righty now. There's still 3 books left to go out before we close the program today. Anyone interested? 954-561-1554. 954-561-1553. Looking forward to have you all enjoy the story also. So as we go along, we talked about the Jacksonville Youth Council. We talked about the North Carolina A&T. Sat down at the 5 and 9 protest at the counter. We talked about the kids getting out of school. And, well, hello, this is Tyrone. I've got a caller in. Who am I speaking to?
Good morning. My name is Orange Green.
What's your name again?
R.G. Green.
R.D. Green. Pleasure. You're one of the winners of the book that we have out for this morning. Have you enjoyed the show so far?
Yes. I listen to it every morning.
Oh, great.
Yes.
I'm glad to be able to provide one of our big supporters and listeners with a book. So I'm glad to have you there. So would you stay on the line and see if our engineer get your name and address so I can
sure
get
will.
this book out. I get this book out to you. All right, ladies. Thank you very much, Miss Green.
All right.
Now,
You have a blessed day.
You have a great week now. So, ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, we're making progress. Progress because we are interested in knowing our story. And there's 2 books left to give away this morning. This is the last Monday in June, which means we start in the second half of 2020, and 2020 has brought us a lot. 2020 has brought us George Floyd. It has brought us the virus, and it has brought us a worldwide recognition that humanity needs to change for good. So 2020 for eyesight works for me. So now, as we getting ready to close on our last section, just want to make sure that you know we got 2 books left to give away, and these books will be going out in the mail this afternoon to these few lucky people that was able to call and get in. Do thank you, and as we continue with our story, I want to just take this time and say to the young people, say to the parents, and say to all of our people, there's a price to be paid when you want to get your rights, your equality, and you're fighting for that. There's a price to be paid. So you can't be afraid of the violence that may come at you. To give you an example, we talked about Steve Biko. He's the one that led the student walkout against trying to learn the Afrikaner language in South Africa. So let me tell you the price he had to pay. For 50 continuous hours, he was beaten and shackled. He was then transported 700 miles to a prison medical facility. There, treatment was denied. For 19 days, he had to endure his injuries while being naked. Biko died in police custody in Pretoria, South Africa. Massive head trauma was the cause of his death. The police was charged in his death. They were tried in court and cleared of any guilt. The death of Biko and the trial of the police became symbols of freedom. After that, actions against South African government grew worldwide. Sounds familiar, ladies and gentlemen? Because the world has not changed. And that's why there are people in the streets all over the world, been all over the world for the last several weeks. Why? Because humanity deserves better. All of us deserve better. And so let's understand, ladies and gentlemen, there is a price to pay to get better. And we can pay it. And we're ready to pay it. And it's time to pay it because it's time for us to have that better kind of a life for ourselves, for our children, and our children's children. So we want you to understand that our story is power. And because of that, we can overcome any obstacle that comes in our way. It may take time, but yes, the obstacles can be overcome. Okay, to our listening audience, I still have 2 books to give away today to any listening audience that want to call in while we still have a couple of minutes left in the show. But as we move on, we just want to continue to talk about the fact, the importance of our people doing what it takes to be free, to have that access to equal treatment under the law. And as we move on, we talk about all the other people that have been involved in the struggle. This struggle has been going on a long time, and we're not about to quit because our young people ain't going to allow us. You hear that, parents, grandparents? They won't allow us. But we need you, parents, grandparents, uncles, aunts. Our children will not read our story, will not know our story, unless you insist that they know our story. There isn't a book that I know of that talks about our story from the beginning of time to the 21st millennium. This one book has a reference for the story and the people and the themes that's in the story. And it also has a cultural reference, a reference to give you ideas, to give you where you can find different songs, different movies from different individuals that have been written for our benefit. Hard Road to Glory, A Nation Within a Nation, A Soldier's Play are just some of the books that's in the reference on culture. Schomburg Collection, the Banjo Lessons. These are paintings and arts that are in there, which makes me let you know that we're going to be having an artist, world famous artist, come on our show in July, whether it be the first program in July or the second one. But keep listening. He's coming to speak with us. He'll be coming soon. Now, there's books like They Came in Chains, films, A Raisin in the Sun, Cotton Comes to Harlem, 5 on the Black Hand Side. Okay, John. Magazines, BET, Essence. There's references in the books, in the story Grandpa told, that you may not find anywhere else. And this is how we keep our history alive. For movies, there's Shaft, Lady Sing the Blues, Lilacs, Lilies of the Field, The Learning Tree. Current movies like The Last, where did I see that? The Last King of Scotland. I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, our people have been creating and making movies, songs, plays from the beginning. All God's children need traveling shoes. That's a point. For my people, Harlem Shadows. Newspapers, the Denver Post, Freedom's Journal. Did you hear about the New York Age newspaper, magazines? I'm telling you, there's reference in here that can give you a whole lot of information. I even have speeches and sermons. And ain't I a woman who's done that? Oh, yeah, you could call her name. And I have a dream speech. So the book is compared. It's full of information for all of us to know that our story is powerful. And yes, we can continue to learn about that and teach our children. So, ladies and gentlemen, we weren't able to give out our 5 books today. Maybe next time when we do that again. But in the meantime, we want you to know that Pass Our Story is your story to increase your knowledge of self-history and ancestry. We do thank you for all that you've done. We want you to continue to listen to our program. And not only are we going to have an artist during the month of July, we're going to have some young people, some students that talk about the power of the story Grandpa told. We're going to also have some students to talk about what they feel about what's going on in the world today. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'll be back with you next Monday. And if it's Monday, it's Pass Our Story. Thank you. Have a great weekend. Have a great day. And we'll talk again on next Monday at 5 a.m. Bye now.
If you're looking for a quality chef and caterer for your next revival, conference, seminar, or wedding, then you need to get in touch with Minister Eugene Wims. He is a quality chef and caterer that walks in the Lord. Call him at 754-422-4780. And don't forget, you can join Minister Eugene Wims every Monday and Tuesday morning from 5 until 6 a.m. with his radio ministry Walking by Faith right here on WEXY 1520, your inspiration station.